Okay, so solve an equation with squares. The notes are going to be almost exact as solve an equation with square roots. However, I am not going to make you guys do step 3. So what I want you to do is put an X through step 3. Do not write down, write another equation with the negative square root. I'm not going to make you guys do that, sorry. So we're going to put a line through step 3. So obviously you guys don't even write down this and then put a line through it. You just put an X through 3. You're not going to be held responsible for getting 2 answers for solving an equation with squares. I'm only going to have you guys find 1 answer. So we're back resumed. So solving an equation with squares is going to be almost identical to solving an equation with square roots. Step 1, instead of boxing the square root this time, you're going to box the square. Our rule is to get the square by itself. Step 2, take the square root of both sides of the equation. That's the inverse operation of square. That will get rid of the square sign. And then step 3, we're not doing. So the last step, solve. Instead of both equations, what should it be? Solve the equation as usual. Okay? So solve the equation as usual. Because you're not going to have 2 equations that you're going to have to solve. We're not going to stress that second equation. Now, when you get into geometry, you may have to solve equations. When you do squares, you might have to get 2 answers. It just depends on who your teacher is. Okay. So let's take a look at example number 1. So example number 1 is a squared equals 25. First thing I'm going to do is circle my variable. I'll draw my line of equality. And then I'm going to put a box around what's being squared. Now, my equation is split in half by my line of equality. You're going to look at the side that your square is on. Is the square by itself? Is there anything on the left side that's outside of that box? No. So that means the square is by itself. So we can move on down to step 2. How do I get rid of the square sign? What's step 2 say to do in order to get rid of the square sign? Take the square root of it. So if I do the square root of one side, I have to do the square root of the other. So square and square root cancel. So on my left, I have a equals. Then on my right, what's the square root of 25? 5. So that was a perfect square. So then that's my final answer. I box it. Now, I will warn you right now. I know for sure on your worksheet you will not have all perfect squares. So you're going to have to go back and use your head from second triad and simplify a square root, right? You can get it though. All right, let's take a look at the next one. So this time the square is just on the right side of the equal sign. Not a big deal. We follow the same steps. So we draw our line of equality. We circle our variable. And then I'm going to box only what's being squared. So what's being squared here? Just the b. And this. So anything on the square side of the line of equality that is not inside of that box, we have to get rid of. We want to get that square by itself. So what number do I have to get rid of there? How do I do that? Remember the golden rule. Whatever I do to one side of the line of equality, I must do to the other. So on my right side, I bring down my b squared, my equal sign, and then I simplify my left side. Now, is my square by itself? So how do I get rid of the square sign? I square root it. If I square root one side, okay. So on my right side, the square and square root cancel. I bring down my variable b. I bring down my equal sign. What's the square root of 4? 2. Another perfect square. I'm done, so I box it. You know I'm about to make this harder, right, though?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like the first would be so easy.
You guys feel really confident, like, yeah, I got this. And then I throw you something like this. Wait, what? Now, start off the same. I'll let you write it down for a second. Sorry. So, in parentheses, d minus 4 squared equals 25. Now, for this particular problem, what's all being squared? The whole thing in the parentheses. So I'm going to circle my variable. I'm going to draw my line of equality. Now, when I put a box around what's being squared, what do I have to put a box around? The whole thing, because that square is squaring the whole set of parentheses. Now, are there any numbers outside of the box that I need to get rid of? No. Is the square by itself? Yes. So, if the square is by itself, I need to get rid of that square sign. How do I do that? Say it again. No. Square root it. Because I need to get rid of my square first. So I'm going to square root it. That's going to cancel my square sign. If I square root one side, I have to remember to square root the other side. So now on my left side of my line of equality, what am I able to bring down? Yeah. Do I need to put that in parentheses anymore? No, because we got rid of that square sign. Now on my right side, what's the square root of 25? What kind of equation do I have now? One step. How do I get the d by itself?
Do 4.
What? Plus 4. That's right. Cancel. D equals?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 9. Box it. Not too bad. All right. You'll have it. Let's take a look at example number 4. This one's a little bit more lengthy, but that's all right. We're going to follow the exact same steps, and you'll be just fine. So on the top, we have 4e minus 17 squared divided by 3 minus 3 equals 0. So our ultimate goal is to still get the square by itself. So after I circle my variable and I draw my line of equality, what am I going to box?
The whole square.
Which is?
The parentheses.
That's right. So I'm going to box the whole parentheses because that's being squared. So what numbers do I now have to get rid of? The 3's. So if I'm getting rid of the 3's, I'm going to use SADMAP. So if I'm doing SADMAP, this is a tricky one because this is kind of like a set of parentheses right here. But what number would I get rid of first? You sure?
You give me the 3 on the bottom of the.
You get rid of the 3 at the bottom? What do you guys think?
I should just like multiply the 3s.
You know what? I'm not even going to lie to you guys. That Thanksgiving break has got me like, what do I do? And of course, I don't have this one in my notes. Do you have that one in your notes, Mr. McFarland? Example 4. So the first one we're going to get rid of, because we typically start here, we're going to do the opposite and get rid of that first 3. So how do I get rid of that first 3? Times. So if I multiply by 3 on one side, I multiply by 3 on the other side. So I'm going to rewrite.
I have it written on 5, I think.
Oh, nope, I lied to you guys.
You get rid of the minus.
Yep, you're going to get rid of the minus.
You knew it.
Who knew it?
Me and Kelsey.
Ah. You guys need to come up and teach this class. So, sorry. We're going to get rid of the minus 3 first, which is plus 3. So then on my left side, I'm going to bring down my parentheses for e minus 17 squared divided by 3 equals, what's 0 plus 3?
3.
3. Sorry about that. Okay, now what 3 do I get rid of? The bottom. And I do that by multiplying
Both sides.
both sides by 3. So my left side I can, ooh, I'm going to run out of room. I need to quit writing so big. So I'm going to write 4e minus 17 squared equals, what's 3 times 3? 9. Now, what do I do?
Square root it.
Good. My square is by itself, so I'm going to square root it. Square and square root cancel. So what can I bring down on my left side?
4e minus 17.
And then on my right side, what's the square root of 9? What's the square root of 9? 3. And now what type of problem do I have?
Don't plus 17.
Mm-hmm. We have a two-step equation. Jemiah's got it.
Woohoo!
Right side, 3 plus 17.
That gives you 20. And then you divide by 4.
I don't know if I'm going to have to write my answer up to the right. So then what's 20 divided by 4?
You get 5. Box.
Box it. I have to remember I can't write so big. The longer ones. Hey, hey, you got it though. I couldn't remember what to do. Mr. McFarland helped us out. Just like if you don't remember what to do, Mr. McFarland and I can help you out. Or your wonderful notes.
So like on the finals, we taking the finals on everything we did.
Nope, just third triad.
That's a lot. If you want, that would be
But
a
if you
lot.
think about it, it's over just third triad. But what did we do first triad?
With like solve equations or something.
Solving one-step equations. What did we do second triad? We worked with square roots. What do we do third triad? We're solving equations with square roots and squares. So it's kind of over everything, but it's just going to be based on solving the various equations.
So the hardest finals, I'm gonna have to say without what they solve.
Okay, example number 5 and example number 6 are going to be a little bit different than what the first 4 examples were. So we have 6 squared equals f squared plus 4 squared. When you have an equation like this, the first thing that I would recommend is that you go ahead and simplify what you can simplify here. So if you're looking at 6 squared equals f squared plus 4 squared, what can I simplify before moving on? What can I simplify before moving on?
And it's the 4 square?
Yeah, what's 4 squared equal?
16.
So 16. I still can't do my f squared because I don't know what f equals. What else can I simplify?
6.
Which is? What's 6 squared?
12.
No, not 6 times 2.
36.
36. Good. Now, we have an equation that we're familiar with. So we still want to get our square by itself. So if I want to get that f squared by itself, what do I need to get rid of here?
Since you're at 16.
That's right.
You said it hard.
Darius like, okay, this one doesn't make my head hurt as bad. I got it. Okay, so Darius, what's 36 minus 16?
20.
This 26, ain't it?
No.
Oh, dang.
Now, is my square by itself?
No.
No. Well, actually, yeah, because
Yeah. So how do I get rid of that square sign?
times 2.
No.
No, you
Square root it. So square and square root cancel. What's the square root of 20?
10. 2. 5. 4.
You can do 2 or 5.
Is it a perfect square?
No.
No. So guess what we get to do now? We get to simplify the square root of 20. So go somewhere on your paper where you have some extra room. So I'm going to come over here to the right. I'm going to put the square root of 20. Now, when I go to simplify a square root, what do I have to do first?
Simplify.
How?
2.
What do I do?
Power 2.
No.
You don't put square.
It's not a perfect square. I can't just put 2 to the power 2. I need to simplify the square root of 20.
Oh, the factor tree?
That's right, the factor tree.
Oh, big.
So what times what equals 20?
2 and 10.
I'm going to circle my 2 because it's prime. And then for 10,
5 and 2.
And then circle it because it's prime.
so I'm going to come out, put my equal sign, my square root sign. What goes up under that square root?
2 times 2.
What do I do with my factor pairs?
You circle it, you cross it out.
And it becomes a
Single square.
single number as the,
Coefficient.
there you go. 2 square root, what's stuck as the radicand?
5.
5. So what's my answer of the square root of 20 is going to equal what?
2 and 5.
2 square root of 5. And that's it. So when you don't get a perfect square, you will have to do this. You'll have to simplify that square root. Okay? All right, let's do this last example problem, and then we're going to be out of time. Well, we did a lot of chatter at the beginning. Okay, so here we go. We're going to circle our variable. Draw our line of equality. Box our square. And then it's similar to example number 5. So what should I do first here?
You should, like, get rid of the 5. Wait. You do
Put minus 5.
You do G to
Don't you square
equals.
root it?
No, like, isn't it 25 plus 25?
How do you get those 25s?
Like, 5 times 5.
Okay, so the first thing you did was went ahead and simplified the 5 squares. So Darius took 5 squared and got 25. Then he took 5 squared and got 25. I think she had Harris first hour. So if she did, I'll just grab it. Don't give it to her. I'll just get it. Okay, so we have 25 plus 25. Now, then he went on and simplified the 25 plus 25 and got 50. But that G still needs to get rid of the square sign. So what am I going to have to do to get rid of that squared sign? So if I square root this side, then I have to square root my 50. Now, the square root of 50 is not a perfect square. So I'm going to have to come over and I'm going to have to factor tree it. What times what is 50? Circle my 5 because it's prime. For my 10,
2 and 5.
circle them because they're prime. I'm going to come up to the right, put my square root sign, and then put my factors in order from least to greatest. So it's going to be
2 times 2 times.
And then circle here and cross.
what's my pair? That's going to cancel and come to the
5
outs.
square root of 2.
There you go, 5 square root of 2. So G equals 5 square root 2. And that is it.